I wake up every minute with the fever dreams. I push a mind to a limit where it needs to be. I work blind, got vision I don't need to see. I'm picking mind over matter, I believe in me. I need to find more hours in the day to breathe. Need to find more power in the way I be. And when my mind turns sour with the painful scenes, I need to scream out loud, I can't stop me. I wanna be the greatest like Rocky. You know I leave them all hating like a hobby. I'm out here making moves like a lobby. And if you ain't with me, it's your loss, see. I got my mind on the facts, I'm a python. Grab what I like real fast, choke until I have everything I attack. Everything that I lack, everything that I want, and I see, matter of fact.
Only if I let it be. I can control anything if I can just think carefully. I control my destiny. Deep up in my mind I manifest it. Every morning I wake up obsessed, and everything I do the best. And deep within my mind you know I'll always manifest it. I'm my own worst enemy. Only if I let it be. I can control anything if I can just think carefully. I control my destiny. Deep up in my mind I manifest it. Every morning I wake up obsessed, and everything I do the best. And deep within my mind you know I'll always manifest it.
It used to have started with it.
It fits in with my EP10.
Yeah.
It like this. Instead of hate, it should be love, we invite it. You don't agree, then you're the problem that we're fighting. Open up your mind, stand up, become righteous. Why is it like this? Instead of hate, it should be love, we invite it. You don't agree, then you're the problem that we're fighting. Open up your mind, stand up, become righteous.
Welcome, episode 10. And we are joined by the 10. And we are joined by the fantastic, talented tattoo artist, James Graham. Hey. And I'm sure you've already seen our ink maybe on the intro, perhaps. Ta-da! Ta-da!
I've not seen that one since I got it.
Well, now is the time. So, and not just a tattoo artist, I should say, and that's what we're going to kind of cover, is the creative brain and all of the many avenues that may take us down, and tattooing and business, which I know you're really interested to hear more about. And yeah, we've known each other for many, many years now, haven't we?
A long time.
A long time. How many years have passed since we were like 15, 16? Do we want to say that on camera? It's got
You're just aging yourself.
20 odd years. There you go. This is what happens, kids. It all goes downhill from those carefree days in school. So we're just going to get straight stuck in with the kind of deep and gory. And what kind of led you down your career path and the twists and the turns, and kind of like let's fill in the gaps between 20 years ago when we were just having fun on the half pipe and casually drinking and skiving school, you know, with all these life plans. You were going to be obviously a global artist. Your band was going to take over the world. I'm sure my books were going to, you know, be made into fantastic films. And here we are.
Yeah, I mean, I studied music, so I carried on. I studied music into AS level.
Yeah.
And then carried on into college at Loughborough.
Mm-hmm.
And then I sort of started getting tattooed and got into that. You know, it was a cultural thing. It was part of the punk rock scene.
Yeah, of course.
And then the guy who was doing them, he wanted to go off on his own and sort of said, have you ever thought about doing it? And I thought, well, I am now who said that.
Yeah, of course.
And for me, it was a more surefire way of making money than hoping my band got signed by a label and, you know, being famous. And then it sort of just took over as that. And I went on to open a studio and then moved around, you know.
Yeah.
And I continued doing music as, you know, a hobby and a passion, but not to make money.
Yeah, that was kind of like, you must have read my mind there. I was just thinking that you know, you kind of just shift the things into one pathway or another of your life, don't you? It's like, rather than it becoming the path for the career, it's like, I'm still going to do it. I'm not going to suddenly lose that interest.
Yeah.
So were you always into art? Because I'm trying to, like, obviously we did media studies together, and you know, did you doodle, did you create as a youngster? Like,
I did. I remember when I was like little, my mum would put me to bed and I'd like creep out of bed.
Yeah.
And I'd go in my cupboard and I'd copy the pictures of insects out of a book. I've got
is
quite
so cool.
a memory of that. And my grandma used to do watercolour painting.
Yeah.
That's when we'd go around and she'd sort of be childminding for us. So
yeah,
it must have been that. And I enjoyed, I think in primary school I did a portrait of Catherine Parr, because we were doing stuff about the Tudors.
Yeah.
So it must have always been there somewhat.
You got those compliments from a young age, or like noticing, oh, that's
Yeah.
pretty good compared to the rest of the kids,
and
maybe.
I think when we did like clay, you know,
Yeah.
pottery at primary school, I think mine were all right. You know, and quite meticulous, so I wanted everything to be quite symmetrical, you know.
Got that eye for it.
Yeah.
So perhaps, like, in a way then, the talent was always there lurking, but the passion for music, you know, took your interest more so than
I think
actually drawing.
That was a discovery, because I think my parents split up and I don't think I know how to express any of the feelings that I had from that.
Okay.
And I got introduced to guitar and Metallica in particular through my cousin.
Yeah.
He showed me his electric guitar. It's like a Sunbear Squire Strat. I just thought it was so cool.
Yeah.
And he showed me like Jimi Hendrix and Metallica in particular. It's like heavy guitar, heavy drums, sort of wailing,
think
fast
that angry-
solos. And I was like, that's it. That's
Yeah.
the feeling.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So, and then I wanted to play guitar. I was like, that's it. I need to do
That's
that.
what
I
I'm
need to be
living
able
for.
to do it. And then, you know, as you learn, you sort of, you can then express yourself through that instrument and that avenue.
I mean, that's something we've said quite often, that do people turn to these musical and creative like things, and it's actually this pent up emotion that's forced them in that direction to begin with, and then the expression comes as part of it, and the talent comes. And
It's easy to see how, like, if you didn't do well at school, then it pushes you into those more like vocational topics, but like actually having that talent that's already there, it kind of makes you feel like what came first, like chicken or the egg sort of thing.
Well, you said something interesting to us afterwards in the studio about that people always say, oh, I want to be good at that, I want to be that good at that, but you had to start somewhere, you know. We're seeing you now as, like, I mean, the line work of your art is incredible, like the comments that I've had, particularly on this one,
as well.
yeah, and you know, you're clearly talented, but you said to us, like, even with your music, people want to be able to play the guitar spectacularly or produce a song, and it's like, it doesn't just come just like that.
Yeah, people always say to us in the studio, they'll say, oh, I wish I could
do what you're doing.
I wish I was talented. And it's not, you don't take it as an insult, but I think they don't realise that, you know, they'll often say, I can't draw a stickman. And
Yeah,
at one point, I could only draw a stickman.
Yeah.
Drew thousands of them.
Yeah.
Added muscles and hair and, you know, more realistic features to them. And it's like, I think it just got like the iceberg of success, you know. They don't see the thousands of hours of
definitely
practice and, you know, dropping the ball.
Yeah, and the not believing in yourself, thinking like this isn't good enough, kind of, because that propels you forward, doesn't it? That voice always being like, who's gonna pay for this rubbish work?
Yeah,
you need to make it better.
Yeah, I think as well, some people, they'll, if it's hard, they won't follow through as well. And I think if it's maybe not talent, but just sort of the drive that's ingrained in you, you'll push past that.
Yeah.
You know, you'll keep falling, you'll keep failing, you'll keep, you know, you'll get past the sloppy stage, whether it was sort of tattooing or music, you know, an instrument, you'll just keep pushing because you have to. You have to achieve that, you know, at whatever level you've decided you want to get to.
Yeah, no one was born like being able to play guitar like Jimi Hendrix. He put in the hours as well.
Of course, yeah.
Well, I think, and that for me is like a really inspiring message, because it is persistence, determination. It's these things that we can strive to achieve to then actually reach whatever goal it is, whether it's...
It stops us seeing it as such a mountain, doesn't it, and unachievable.
Or well, I haven't got this talent. I'm not blessed with a creative talent, so I therefore can't do this. But yeah, it makes it more achievable for anybody. So you've touched upon kind of self-expression, not being able to express yourself very well. We are the podcast that discusses mental health and those connections, especially with the creative mind. And you are one hell of a funny guy. Now... you know, you've done stand-up comedy.
I'm sorry, how does that feel when someone says, you're a funny guy?
It's mixed.
I heard the laugh, but it's like... That's cool.
Well, I'm going to kind of go deeper into that as well, that you know, we've met up a couple of times in preparation for this podcast and what we're having tattoos, and we knew each other anyway. And sometimes with comedy comes the fact that you've had to suffer as well, or comes that tinge of, I'm not trying to be funny, this is my real life. Yeah. My real life is so miserable that it's funny, you know. Like...
I think some of the best comedy is steeped in reality.
Yeah.
There's a hint of, you might be taking the mick out of a situation, but there's probably something there that...
Well, it needs to be taken the mick out of,
to you.
Because it's crap. It's a horrible part of life. So if you can make it funny, like stuff that's already good doesn't need a joke made out of it. It doesn't make that good a comedy.
Well, it comes down to well, we always talk about the fact that is laughing and finding things funny and being funny just a reaction to trauma type thing, which makes me feel so sad. So the funniest people are the ones that usually are, you know, the most traumatized, as it were, without sounding too kind of like deep. But is that the case, that we learn to laugh at things as a way to cope?
Well, I think Jimmy Carr sort of said when they were talking about his last Netflix special, he was saying, you know, if you don't joke about the bad thing's won. You know? Yeah. So it's kind of like throwing the finger up to it, you know?
Yeah, that makes... And it's never...
If you ridicule it, you know, it has no power anymore.
Yeah.
And the joke is never, I don't know, whatever topic is, it's not that's funny. It's the nuance that you can find around it, or like the hypocrisy sometimes, the stuff that's just damn right ridiculous that you have to laugh, because if you don't, I will cry. Yeah. So it's seeing that it's both a defense mechanism and actually a way of like not processing everything so heavily all the time. You can just be like, okay, yeah, I accept that, but it's funny, whatever, and it doesn't hold on to you. And
it's just making me think of like that comment of too soon, you know, and you just sort of like, you know, like when something bad happens and you immediately want to make a joke out of it. I mean, I've been that person so many times where someone shot me in the eye, like if you really are you really going there?
I think there was probably 30 seconds between Rolf Harris's death and me getting a meme. To my phone, like it was that fast.
Yeah.
I remember Michael Jackson's being super fast, and like celebrities ever since, it's like you've always got that one mate that just like, and you're like, I'm not mad at that mate. I'm all right with that mate. When I die, I hope he's making that joke about me.
There is that element, isn't there? Because you can kind of say, well, I wouldn't mind somebody laughing at me, so that's why I'm laughing at them.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, for sure.
Well, so tell us a little bit about the stand-up side then, because did you go to Edinburgh? I know that I always keep...
I moved and lived in Edinburgh.
Okay.
And when I moved there, that was when the band had sort of fizzled out, so that was me kind of escaping Leicester in a way.
Yeah.
And also, I think mentally putting that to bed.
Yeah.
It was like, right, that is done now.
What age was this then? So how long was this still full circle?
Yeah. That. That'd been mid-20s.
Yeah. So I mean, you took that seriously still, kind of thing. You know, it was like serious endeavour.
We did it for 10 years solid. You know, we played sort of support for quite big acts.
Yeah.
And, it just never.
I can see you on stage in my mind. I'm having like it's such a shame that we've not got physical footage of that, because you just had such energy and like.
I'll find some photos.
Yeah.
If there's photos that exist,
yeah.
At least some.
He had this combination of like energy and rage. It was like it never felt like a negative rage, but you always had that kind of anger.
It was a rebellious sort of, but like a unite to progress type message in the songs, you know. Sort of bands like Pennywise, who was named after their album, they're all very sort of like unity driven and sort of anti-authoritarian.
We're all in our teens, finding out.
Which was perfect for when you're sort of 17, 18,
yeah.
You know, because that's how you're feeling, you know.
Definitely. So this is like your kind of mid-20s and I'm relating so hard to like being like, right, I'm going to pack that life up and just move to a new life.
I know.
I'm all or nothing like that.
Well, so I moved up there and I tried to sort of start something new up there musically, but the thing I think that's hard about music is finding like-minded people, getting them all in the practice room, writing the material. It's probably easier now because you can write complete demos on a laptop.
You don't have to meet.
But back then, you have to get in a practice room together and write the material. And nothing sort of materialised while I was up there. And I've always loved stand-up comedy. Yeah. And I thought, well, this is the place to have a go, if you're going to do it. So, I booked it was a night called Red Raw at the Stand, which is the big one up there. And I booked my spot and I didn't even have a set, I don't think, at the time. I had a friend up there. Yeah. Chris Griffin, if you see him up there, he's great. Yeah. He's worth watching. Yeah. And we'd met up, we'd talked, we'd done a bit of podcast stuff, and I was writing my routine before. While I had the date booked, so that was, there's no better inspiration than a date.
Without any.
I did have some. Have some, but I didn't have a set. It wasn't planned out. I just had some jokes and some.
It holds you accountable, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a bit like me with the exercise thing. I can't force myself to do exercise and all that, but if I book a wolf run, then it's like, well, if you don't, you're gonna fail. So it's then you're accountable then for how you prepare.
It's like with tattoo designs as well. So sometimes
pressure's on.
Not through laziness. I just like to focus on one thing at a time. But they have to be done for the appointment.
Yeah, regardless. There's no two ways about it. I'm a bit like that with deadlines. It's like I don't stress now if I know that I'm not working towards the deadline. I'm like, you're going to get it done. Yeah. It will come at the right time. So just do it when you feel like doing it.
For a test.
Yeah.
People write the essay the night before.
Every time.
Yeah.
It's just a style, I suppose. One should lean into that style.
I think especially for ADHD, you need it to be interesting for you. And that adrenaline can make it interesting. The idea of it not being done in time is suddenly interesting.
Yeah, well,
suddenly I can do this.
It's living life on the edge of a knife all of the time without realising that's what you're... And no wonder we get to this age and we're exhausted, like, what is wrong with my brain? Why am I like this?
How did you find the tattoo process from that sort of perspective?
What, as in...
From the ADHD perspective?
For me, I've always wondered if it's a sensory I like the stimulating side of it, that it's painful, but it's a healthy way to achieve a
Because the shop
stimulation.
wasn't technically open, so normally there'd be like
Yeah.
6 artists, 6 clients, 2 shop managers or laser technicians.
My first
so it
ever...
wasn't quite as busy.
Overbearing. Well, my first ever one was so traumatic and painful. I was only like 17 or something. That from then on, the smell of the shops, even just going past them, I couldn't go into one. Yeah. So it's like it took years. I think I was in my mid-20s when I got one, but then it's my 30s that I managed to overcome that. So yeah.
I think for me it's all about the customer service side of it. The tattoo side, it's, you know, I've not got any responsibility apart from just sit still.
Yeah, it's relaxing, isn't
But
it?
if I'm made to feel like it's not safe, if it's like
Dirty or
and I
something.
think it's a common problem at the minute with like I'm sure it has been for a long time, but it's more like at the forefront now with people not understanding how to undress to have certain bits of tattooing. There's been people that are getting
that's
a lot
just
of
strip
trouble.
off.
Yeah.
And there's, you know, to know that you can trust someone that is only going to ask you to do what you need to do that's necessary.
Yeah, that was a big thing a couple of years ago, actually. Yeah, there was
Yeah.
I think some seedy
Oh,
tattooers
really?
got ousted. There was quite a push for that.
It'd be like me coming to my elbow and you'd be like, right, take your trousers off then.
Yeah, I mean,
rest your arm on your
But you
back.
still see it on Instagram. You know, I saw a video the other day and there was a girl having the top of her back lined and the artist had printed the entire back piece on it. It went down to her bum cheeks. But she was stood up, leaning forward with her trousers down there and the camera's sort of going round and she had quite a good body. But, you know, it's just for likes, but they're exploiting her.
Yeah.
And she must have, I suppose, been comfortable with that happening to have it filmed. But I do think it's unsavoury, you know. It's just...
Yeah, it can take
there
that
was no reason
dark.
she couldn't have been lying down and didn't have to have her arse cheeks in. And
So what advice would you give to men and women, I suppose, that are maybe unsure about, say they want it in a compromising place, what advice would you give to them to stay safe?
I mean, research the studio first and foremost and all that, but
A good reputation.
you've definitely got to say something if someone, you know, like you'll have girls, they'll come in to have like their upper thigh done and they're wearing tight jeans. So if they want the tattoo, they're going to have to pop one leg out, you know, and that's completely fine. They haven't got to sit in their underpants, you know. We always offer people, you know, there's always spare
A towel
stuff,
or
like,
something
yeah,
like that.
something like that. That I think that's reasonable. But think about it, you know, if it's on sort of, you know, if you're wearing a top and you're having it on your shoulder, you're going to have to take your arm out of the top. Think about that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose think about what you're wearing before you go. So if you're going to have to
Definitely,
pop a leg out, wear briefs instead of thongs or something.
Yeah, or put some shorts underneath your
Yeah,
trousers,
yeah.
you know, so that you can just
Or change when
Yeah.
you get
pull the
there.
shorts
Yeah,
up. Yeah,
put the
yeah,
shorts on.
people change when they get there.
And if
you
you
know.
were tattooing someone and they felt that something didn't feel right, oh, is there any chance I could... And if someone said that, without you having the intention, how would you approach that? Like, if someone did say I needed to... Oh, is that okay? Say, like, here, oh, this is a bit covered up. Could I just... How do you deal with that?
Yeah,
You deal with that.
Yeah, you just encourage them to do whatever makes them feel comfortable.
And it's a bit
you
of a
know.
red flag if
It's
someone's
bedside
like...
manner.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
this
if
is
they
how I have
thought
to
it,
do
yeah, I think if a tattooist was like, no, I want it like this, you know, obviously if you've got straps and like lines of your pants and stuff, you're going to need to occasionally move them
Yeah.
to continue the tattoo. You'll need them out of the way. But I think if someone's forcefully pushing you to be in a compromising, that's just not right. That's a massive...
This is where we've got to encourage people to trust their gut instinct and be comfortable enough to say, I'm not comfortable, I need to leave.
Yeah.
I think that's where the ADHD experience gets in the way. Not preparing, because I was just thinking then now, you don't think about taking a pair of shorts or whatever because you're so like, oh, I'm getting a tattoo today, that you might not think. So I'm just thinking how we could do some material to follow it up, like remember to look at what you're wearing, take spare outfit or whatever.
And it's not to put the responsibility on the person that could potentially get abused. It's more just things that you can put in place. Like you wouldn't go on a motorbike without a helmet. It's just,
Yeah.
But anyway, back to you were about to walk on stage with no set prepared. No, I know it's not quite that extreme, but
I had to go away from it because it gave me cold sweats. But okay, I'm back.
Yeah. Well, this is how me and Steph work, though. I approach things without much of a plan, and then you approach things with a plan, don't you? So it's like it is interesting to hear when people use those styles and things into it. It's like we're interested, we're genuinely interested.
I'd written stuff to if I needed to ad-lib or if I needed to move on quickly away from something if it bombed, you know,
Yeah.
I sort of had a contingency plan.
Yeah.
But it was relatively rigid what I'd written, you know.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know if you can play it safe with comedy, but I sort of used like relationship stuff that people could relate to, which I think was maybe safe, you know, as opposed to going on about sort of social issues, which
politics,
touchy, you know. But I think that was, I'd been on stage hundreds of times with the band, and that was the most nerve-wracking thing I've ever done, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Before I went on, I was looking at the back exit thinking, should I just run away? You know?
I can so relate that it's like making me feel a little bit sick. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, it was nervous.
Yeah.
I'm jealous and scared for you at the same
Yeah,
time.
and
I know it's already happened, but just listening to this, I'm like, I wanted to. Oh,
yeah, that's the thing. Isn't it?
Yeah, like I heard my name called, and my hand just hit the stage door, and I kind of just started
walking.
oh my God.
and took the guy's hand. And the first thing that I did, I think, the first time was stumble over my words, actually. And that was quite a good thing in a way, because the worst thing that happened had happened. You know, I kind of messed up a line, and it became more comfortable.
Pressure,
it's a bit like with the band. I was quite a nervous performer. You wouldn't know on stage.
Yeah.
But, you know, the difference with the band is you could have a huddle because there was 4 of you, and then they'd all hit the chord and the drums, and it's loud.
Yeah.
Like, what's up, everyone? Sort of thing. Where when you walk out on stage and there's just one spotlight and a lot of these silhouette faces, and you go, "You're right," and you get a murmur back. It's a completely different. Sort of
my! Yeah, you
thing.
really
They're almost going.
You're like,
Go on then.
yeah, and you kind of feel like. I felt like they're all waiting for you to be bad.
Yeah.
But particularly the Red Raw night at the stand, they're aware that they're sort of amateur comedians, and I think they're willing you to be good.
Aww.
And you've got to remember that they want to be entertained as well. You know, they don't want to see a bad comic. They want to see a good comic, you know, because that's what they came out for.
Yeah.
But from a sort of insecure place, you know, you're like, ugh.
I can imagine.
It's tough. But
That contrast as well, that is really deep into the, when you go out on stage and you to a rock and roll audience, you're like, you know, they're quite easy to rile up and get them screaming for you, and it's like, and then in comparison, you're like, hey.
I think I said earlier as well, when we were a punk rock band, so we play punk rock shows with other punk rock bands, and the audience might not have seen us, but they went to a punk rock show.
Yeah.
You know, where with comedy, they might like family-friendly stuff, and you're doing blue humour, you're not going to go down that great.
Yeah,
you know,
suddenly
so.
half the room's just like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I'm losing them, I'm losing.
So in terms of the stand-up then, like Steph just said, she was like, I kind of want to and I don't, and I feel the same. And even Jim Shields, who we had on the podcast, he's a stand-up comic as well. So we really think it's something connected with our brain tied, that it's something attractive. Because you love comedy. There's got to be something in it. But have you got any tips or advice for somebody that was watching thinking, I'd love to try that? What would you say to write something? Try and put like a 5-minute thing together.
Yeah, I mean, they'll give you, normally they'll give you 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's a long time
Yeah,
to be
of course,
stood on stage. It feels like a long time. And I think one thing I always thought was write everything down, as someone told me. Even if it's a bad joke, it's completely rubbish. Write it down, because you won't be able to get it out of your head.
Ah, okay.
And
it's going to
really
come out.
interesting.
And that almost works with the kind of invasive thoughts and stuff like that. Like, just write it down. Like, get it out of your head.
Put it to bed, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But then I think because of music, I had the benefit of sort of like timing and pacing and leaving sort of rhythmic pauses. I treated it the same as songwriting, so I knew when to speed up my speech or when to stop and leave a bit of room for a laugh. And just sort of how I was on stage probably came more naturally to me than
then
some
someone's
people.
completely
I think
new to it.
Chris said he came to my debut, and he said he'd never sort of seen someone look so comfortable the first time, but I think he underestimated how much I'd been on stage prior
Yeah,
to
of
that.
course.
Because I talked to the crowd between the songs, you know, and like someone breaks a string,
Yeah,
I've got to sort of fill a gap because
Yeah.
I was the one with the microphone.
of course.
The drummer was sick once, and we had to just sort of fill like, you know, a little gap where we checked if he was coming back out.
Yeah.
You know, so.
That's that beautiful thing again, though, isn't it? That all these little skills that you've picked up in other aspects of your life suddenly kind of crop up, and
it's that overall confidence and creativity that I feel like you have. Like you said that you went from, I wanted to be in a band, no, I'll do something more tattooing. Tattooing is not more of a definite...
At the time, it definitely wasn't, yeah, because, you know, 16 years ago, you'd sit in the shop and wait for people to come through and pick something off a board.
Yeah.
It wasn't like now where people are booked up asking for custom work. It wasn't like this. So I suppose
Exactly.
I just knew that I didn't want to be in an office.
Yeah.
You know, that wasn't for me. And it was a rebellious thing as well, just like the punk rock music.
Yeah.
It was going against the status quo and, you know, doing something that people said you can't, or it's silly, it's not a real job. And, you know, now tattooing is really popular, you know.
Well, I was just going to say that you must have seen such a drastic change in the tattooing arena on a whole, because, you know, it's gone from only a certain type of people would have had tattoos because of the stigma to it being so much more widely accepted that you must get all sorts in the shop now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we had like an 86-year-old woman in the shop.
I love that. That is wicked.
It's amazing.
She was like, I've just had one of them, and she came back in the next week, you know, booked another one. But then you have bank managers, and you have I mean, there's no sort of walk of life that isn't common, and I haven't seen now.
That must make it so much more satisfying as a person that's kind of, you know, you're just getting that different vibe every day rather than the same.
It makes it interesting because you get to meet. I think that's what's interesting about it, is you get to spend time with really interesting people from all different walks of life. And
I think it's good to have that positive outlook as well, because I can find myself being a little bit resentful that this like alternative way of looking is now so popular. When I remember just being ridiculed as hell when I was younger for wanting to look a bit different. Like black nail varnish was like goth.
Yeah.
Now everyone's wearing black nail varnish. It just everyone's got a neck tattoo.
School sort of saying like, if you wore Converse, they're like, oh, your baseball boots, and now like
clown shoes.
You know, and now like it's the in thing.
Yeah.
You know? And I kind of like, that's not yours, you stole that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
being called emo for so long, and now everyone's adopted this literally emo way of looking.
Yeah, definitely. Because back then that was us rebelling kind of thing, wasn't it? And now it's not such a rebelliousness.
As tattooing became more popular, part of me wanted to just like laser everything that was on the show, you know, so I could look like really normal. And
That's what a lot of this black work is now. Maybe like doing it too quickly and then being like, actually,
it's an easy way to cover up a lot of bad work, definitely. But it's a big section of tattooing. It's quite popular, you know. It's its own beast, you know. It is a style, but I do think people are they're using it as a quick, easy way to cover stuff up. Well,
I mean, it's a kind of a solution to an end, isn't it? Because I think I'm always so glad that I had that really horrific first experience of tattooing, so that I didn't, whilst I was younger, on a whim, get loads of stuff, whereas now I've got like a plan and I'm like... So, you know, I suppose it's it's good that style has taken off for some people, because it's like, thankfully I can just cover that. Yeah.
I just made sure that I was not going to be regretful of it. I know it sounds stupid, and you can't always be that way, but I just thought, like, especially like me trying to do it to myself, I was like, I need it to be on my ankles, I need it to be on legs, so that if someone says, and there's, as bad as they are, when someone goes, I go, I did that myself. I'm proud of myself. Yeah, they're terrible, but I sat in my bedroom like, I'm a wimp. And I tattooed myself. And it's so many cool memories of just every friend at that point being like, will you tattoo me? And me be like, I really shouldn't. Everyone's being like, you scratcher. And I'm like, I'm not charging anyone.
Yeah.
So.
People still say to me now, they're like, oh, what are you going to do when you're older? And I'm like, do you honestly not think that I've thought these things to myself before? Like, it doesn't bother me. I don't know what you think I'm going to suddenly go like, oh my goodness, how will I possibly cope with these all distorted on my wrinkly skin? Like, I'm going to get old. Like.
So many people have got them now. We're all going to be old with tattoos. So it's not going to look odd to be old with tattoos.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. I suppose, like, that's me being blessed with that lack of self-awareness all the time. Like, what? That's going to be a thing? So, I don't know whether we're going to officially hand over or whether we're going to keep up this kind of conversation.
It kind of runs into it.
Yeah, only because I like that it's going slowly into the tattoo business. I know that Steph's really keen to kind of pick your brains a little bit more specifically around that. But you brought my attention to the fact earlier about, and you've just mentioned it, how it used to be just turn up, look through a book, pick a tattoo and have it. And it has really, really changed, hasn't it?
Yeah, completely. I mean, you definitely still draw stuff, you know, because it'd have to fit body parts and you might not have the ideal design for that person. But that was less the case, from my experience anyway. Yeah. I'm sure that there were some people who were just drawing absolutely everything, but, you know, I started out in sort of what you'd call a street shop, so I was doing a lot of flash.
Yeah.
And I focused on the technique of reproducing that, and I think I always pride myself on my technique, so, and I think I said I felt like a glorified photocopy of it.
I thought it was really interesting that you said that you'd learnt the tattooing technique before you'd really thought to learn to improve your drawing
like
skills.
I said earlier, so I did always draw and do a bit of art and was creative, but yeah, I definitely focused on the application of the tattoo more than the art, and that came later.
And I was like, well, we know, don't we? Well, you can't even look at yours on the front, you know. Like, I'm so lucky that I get to look at mine all the time.
I am constantly in the mirror. There's a little handheld one that I've got every so often.
I've just thought this is the episode that hopefully I'll be putting my Judge Judy shout out poem on, because the whole point of this tattoo is my Judge Judy tribute and my tribute to justice, because it's so like
we can do that
ingrained in there.
We'll do that. We'll put it in.
I got so much love for Judy Shineland, I swear my boyfriend thinks I'm nuts. I don't care, I love that woman. She takes no ifs and buts. Do you think they keep me here for my good looks? Well, Judy, I think you're hot. I love the way you disarm the cocky and put liars on the spot. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, then, my dear, it's a duck. If the hairs on the neck are raising, you're running out of luck. Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. Everyone should fear that frown. Millions of people are watching this and you're choosing to act a clown. Fools get a dressing down. You know, you're making your parents proud. And if her lips are moving, better not make a sound. And don't talk to the judge while seated. Always display respect. And if there's sushi for lunch, best say less and not digress. A wise guy is despised, as is a case involving drinking. Plus those signing contracts and getting pets without thinking. Unafraid to tell it how it is, a moron gets called a moron. Judy might sound harsh at times, but do you know when she was last wrong? When she was 5. She's a human lie detector and she will not be deceived. If it doesn't make sense, it isn't true and not to be believed. I have more intelligence in my little finger. Don't try to think where I'm going with this. There is no stopping Judy when she is on the hunt for justice. That requires a yes or no answer. There is no space to lever. Be clever, remember, beauty fades, but dumb lasts forever. Let anger go, process grief, maybe consider therapy. Men aren't cooked until they're 40 and some tell a good story. Fibbing requires a good memory. You need to speak up and speak slow. Do as she says. Why? Because she is the star of the show. Whose mic do you think they'll turn off? This is my playpen. Now listen. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. The doctrine of clean hands understands that when you come to court, that you're following the law and there's nothing out of sort. If you ask Judge Judy to rule, a fair trial is guaranteed. No promises you'll be pleased, but be honest, prepare, you'll likely succeed. Where did you think you were coming today? To the beach? No, so have your evidence in order. All these lessons she has to teach, and that is why I adore her. Woo! Judy! I love you, Judy Shineland. I have my tattoo. My book collection is growing. Mwah!
But yeah, no, sorry to just kind of interrupt there, but I mean, that's how bespoke this tattoo was. Well, all of them mean something, but this one in particular is like representing an obsession, an ongoing obsession.
How would you describe your style?
The ones I do, or
The ones, do you have like a set style that you do, or is it?
I suppose I specialise in like black and grey realism, portraiture. But I enjoy lots of stuff. So I enjoy doing traditional work because I don't get to do it a lot. You know, there's there's a guy in the studio, Jamie Greaves, who's insanely good at it. So a lot of the people that have come in, they'll ask for him. So I always relish the opportunity to do something a bit different.
Very cool.
But I love dot work and geometric sort of pattern work and mandalas as well. And I just, I enjoy most styles, and I don't do a lot of colour work. So
Okay.
I can,
Yeah.
but there's people who love doing it and they're more interested in it.
Yeah.
Let them have
Let
at
them
it.
go do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Is there any tattoo styles or maybe a certain thing to tattoo that you're just over now? Like either you've done it too many times or
You
you've
must
just
have read
never
my
been
mind.
into it.
Yeah, I don't want to put
Out
anyone's
anywhere.
nose out of
That's the
shape,
thing,
but
isn't
you know,
it?
when things become a trend,
Yeah.
especially like as a realism artist, it becomes like a Pinterest tattoo. People just repeatedly ask for it. You know, years ago it was like infinity symbols turning into birds, dandelions turning into birds, and then
I suppose people don't realise it's a trend because they're just coming across it on the internet. It's you
Yeah.
as the artist that's seeing it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know, as the person, you research it and you're like, oh, that looks beautiful. I want that.
lions and tigers and bears.
The whole Wizard of
yeah,
Oz shebang.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, lions became like a really popular thing. You know, because I mean, back in the day it was like tribal, and then we always joke that everyone swapped tribal for Bible because
okay.
everyone started having the religious sleeve,
Oh my
probably
God,
because
yeah,
of
I
like David
remember.
Beckham's influence on.
The crosses and
everything.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of
Yeah.
those, yeah.
And then, yeah, the pocket watches became a big thing. That was a trend. That we
Oh, I
went through.
remember that, yeah, with the hourglasses and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
and then now, lions. I don't know whether Greek seems to be in at the minute, like the
What
Greek
is
statues
Oh, really?
of like Zeus and things like that. But I'm quite happy to tattoo them all day. I love
they
doing
sound kinda cool.
Renaissance statues. I just
Yeah, there's a lot of skill
love
going
it.
into that as well. It's about a challenge, isn't it? It's not
I
just...
find it a challenge, and it's I just really enjoy it, and there's a reason we still go and look at those statues because they're amazing.
They look
and beautiful,
fantastic.
You know,
Have you
and-
seen what they look like with the colours on? How they used to
No.
look? Apparently they used to be fully painted.
Whoa.
And they
Oh,
look
really?
awful.
No
Oh,
way!
So much more beautiful. Like, there was like an exhibition where they like redid them
Like
or like
colorised.
copied
Yeah.
them to show what they'd be like, and they're horrible. It's like they've been painted by a 3-year-old.
I love that. They're
Like
horrible.
Michelangelo was like, perfect, right? Someone paint that. Clearly, because it's terrible. I'll insert them here. But they're really
Yeah, I
bad.
just think the detail in them is, incredible. Like I think there's a particular state. It might be David or something, but there's a certain muscle in the forearm which only appears when you like raise a certain finger.
Wow.
So he's carved that the
If you're a
whichever finger it is raised on the statue, and the muscle is on the carving.
Yeah.
You know, that level of detail
Yeah,
is
yeah.
just like phenomenal.
That's a
It's just-
photographic details. Right?
Yeah, it's insane. And the fact that the drapery, they've managed to sort of go inwards and it rolls over, it's just fascinating. And to recreate that as a tattoo is
Yeah.
really enjoyable for me.
That sounds really good. Do you have, if say someone comes with you and they say, I want this tattoo, I know we were kind of talking about this earlier, so it's more for other people to hear. I want this certain tattoo, you design it for them. How many redesigns, how do you approach someone not being happy with your, to the point that it might just be that you're not the right tattoo artist for them, or your style necessarily?
I think it depends on the level of communication you have, because they'll have an appointment, so there's a deadline.
Yeah.
But I think it depends on how you communicate with that specific client. If they, we've got a lot of experience. We know what we're doing. We're giving you advice based on that, and we understand it as a service industry, and it's your tattoo. But there's a balance to that. You should be working together.
Right.
And I think if there's a complete disconnect between that, then at some point you may have to say, I don't think.
It depends on how rigid they are turning up as well, isn't it? If they're turning up and saying,
Right, yeah.
I want that, like the same as David Beckham, like I have just said about David Beckham,
Yeah.
if they've turned up with a photo of David Beckham's, didn't he have like the one on his back? I remember that being on the front page of the Sun.
Yeah.
It's like if they turn up with that saying, I want this, then you're kind of locked in a bit then where it's like, well, you can't have
yeah,
that.
I mean, you can redesign it
Yeah.
with a different sort of body
Yeah, like
and
give it.
different wings and things, but you're constrained by
Yeah.
that concept
Right,
and that
yeah.
composition. Then, which is nothing. There's nothing wrong with that, because that's like, you've told me what you want. I'm going to give you that. I'm just going to give you a unique version of it that's just for you. I think I said earlier, the problem is when someone can't get someone else's tattoo out of their head.
Yeah.
And you can't do it because it's not fair on the person who's had the tattoo or the artist who did it, who's made the effort to have something unique. And that's a tough one to do.
I think as well, that's where the difference between somebody that's just took up tattooing and is just happy just to recreate whatever the person's turning up and showing them, and then an actual artist that understands that that's somebody's original work, this is my original work, there's more layers to it than just going, I want that design now on my body.
There's a lot of traditional values to tattooing that you gain.
There is. I think some of it's leaving because it has to move on, it has to move forward. Sort of gatekeeper type thing isn't as relevant anymore. People are starting out, but what you just said about someone who's starting out tattooing, who's just happy to be tattooing, so they'll do whatever the person asks, is problematic in itself.
Yeah.
That's when you find people running before they walk.
Yeah.
And doing these, like, I'll do the portrait of your dead grandma, and you end up with one of these ones that looks like, a Fraggle Rock character. And, that was supposed to be really meaningful, important tattoo, and, so that's a problem. But, there's balance in there. I tried quite hard not to bite off more than I could chew early on.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some belters out there.
We've got some to go through soon.
Are we going to get into some of our segments then? Or?
I think 2 more questions.
Oh, okay, excellent. Fire away.
What is some of the most memorable tattoos that you've done? Are there any that you will never forget for whatever reason?
Yeah. I drew a sperm with Morgan Freeman's head. And just wrote Morgan Seaman next to it.
Oh my god.
And I just put it out as a design when we did a walking day, and we all pre-prepared designs. First come, first serve. You can only have what's out, but you've got all the artists to choose from. And some guy had that. And then the next time he had a Danny DeVito. So it was Danny DeVito's face on a Dorito. And they stand out. And another one was...
Just pun tattoos.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I'd done like a tiger prawn and things like, like a prawn with a tiger's head and things, just silly.
Reminds me of like an exercise brief they'd give you at design class, like here's 2 words, angry and toaster, and you'd have to draw an angry toaster.
That's pretty much what I did. I just wrote notes in my phone and sort of tried to design.
That's well fun.
That is great.
I don't know what's sort of memorable.
No, it's pretty memorable.
I have favourites, that I've done like portraits and things. Like I did a really nice Tom Hardy one recently.
You've got like a back catalogue of Tom Hardy.
I do.
I was expecting you to say I'm sick of drawing Tom Hardy,
I have
but
a great client, Gemma, and she loves Tom Hardy, and she's had him from different films.
So all of these different portraits are all on the one person,
all
one
on
leg.
one card.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What's her name? Shout out to
Gemma. Yeah.
Shout out Gemma. He is a beautiful man. There's no other man to have on my body. Sure.
But I don't know, because you're always working on the next tattoo.
Yeah.
Whether it be a design or if it's a sleeve, you're continually working through it. So I think you have to learn to put it to bed a bit, because it's...
There's no point going back and reflecting.
Because, just like any job, you're going to have good and bad days,
Yeah.
You're going to have a day when you feel like you're fighting against the skin or something, and it's just not gone your way, and you can be overly critical, and just sort of... I used to sit and I'd post the tattoo, like the best photo out of it, and then I'd sit all evening zooming in on it, being like, no, that's not... so I kind of trained myself to just...
Enjoy it.
It's everything that's wrong with social media in general, isn't it? But just put into that one little...
Yeah, so I've tried now to just let it go, just sort of let it out into the
I fully get that.
into the world. And
One last question then, before we get on to a bit of fun. Are there any tattoos you refuse to do? Just someone's come with an idea and you've gone, no.
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't do anything with sort of racial connotations, and I think I've told you the story, haven't I?
Oh, we need to hear
Yeah.
it. I'm sure to hear it.
There was a girl who came in and she had these sort of numbers on her shoulders, and it turned out, I'll say what the numbers were later on, and she was having one side covered up with like a Templar Knight, which on its own thought nothing of. And towards the end of the tattoo, she asked for a banner, and she sort of muttered what she wanted in it, and I thought, there's no way she said that. So I sort of carried on doing the tattoo and finished. And she said, oh, so will you add that writing into the banner? And I said, I don't think I caught what you said. And you just, what was it? And she wanted White Crusader. And so I said, no, I'm not doing that. And we had quite the standoff, actually. Like, you know, she said, well, would you write Black Crusader? And I was like, no, because it's like, we had this, yeah. And it was like, we had this big standoff, and I refused to do it. And then I think I was fully booked forever whenever she came back. But and it turned out that what the numbers that she was having actually sort of something to do with like neo-Nazism. And I said, you know, I'm not doing it because it's like racially charged. She said, I'm not racist, I'm just into all that stuff, which is a weird statement.
It's a common statement for them to say though. Like, people have like memorabilia, Nazi memorabilia. Oh, I'm not like, I'm just kind of interested in it. Who's interested in that?
I felt so, it was one of those times where you feel like physically sick and a bit shaky, and it just made me feel horrible when I sort of couldn't get rid of it. So my cut from that tattoo I actually donated to an anti-racism charity, because it was a way of washing my hands of it and sort of turning a negative into a positive.
I love that.
I find
That's
that
amazing.
quite cathartic. I do that quite often.
Yeah.
You really?
Yeah.
That's wicked.
But that again brings us back to that, finding those ways to express yourself, you know, and it's like, it might still be a struggle or something that you're still on a journey with, but you're certainly, when we've been talking, highlighting these ways that you are managing those like excess feelings and big emotions.
Yeah, there's things you don't want to carry them with you forever, do you?
Yeah.
So you've got to find, and if there's like an act, a symbolic act that can just sort of remove that dirt from your shoulders, you know, do it.
Yeah.
It's important.
There you go. That's the word. If there's something you can do it.
Something you can do it. It's a real simple tagline as well. I can type that on there. I'll remember it. Some quicker thing. I've got a load of. I mean, maybe you like them. I'm so sorry if I've got your tattoo on here. They are all from Reddit.
That would be embarrassing, wouldn't it?
That would be really bad. But
There's one bad.
Reddit already blew your up. It's nothing to do with me. Take it up with the Reddit post. Cover, laser, or keep. Keep being that it is so bad, so monumentally bad, that everyone should be reminded that you got that tattoo at one point.
Yeah.
Is it coverable? Could you save it from a tattoo artist's point of view, or from just someone that likes tattoos? I'm not gonna lie.
Is that the Twin Towers?
That is a wizard with the Twin Towers. I don't know if this is like foreshadowing, if this is some sort of like, I don't know the thought process behind this. But what I do need to know from you is, are we keeping it because it's so bad? Are we covering it? Or are we lasering that guy off? Like, just get rid. So, guys, what are you saying?
I'm saying...
I want to keep.
Oh, that is a unanimous keep. That's hilarious.
It is that bad, but also I'm thinking, like, what a tribute to stunning buildings. You can't cover that. It's history right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Twin Towers can do without you keeping them. So, next one, we have a precious baby
God
portrait. This is baby Asher, I believe.
When you said I don't think they are that bad, they are.
That's someone's child. How can you say that?
Well, no, but it's not, is it? That's clearly not someone's child.
Is it a teddy bear or a monkey?
Yeah, I thought it was a teddy bear to begin with, but it's not. It's a monkey, isn't it, hanging on a...
I'm guessing this child
Cheeky
has a
monkey.
nickname of a monkey or a... That's what it looked like in the womb, and now
The eyes
it's
are quite
forever
pretty.
documented. on, I'm saying Dad's body. What are we doing, guys?
Yeah.
We're lasering that off. Goodbye.
Just because that kid's going to have to look at that at some point.
Yeah.
And it's truly horrific. Like, it's nightmare inducing.
This is it's child abuse to do anything else. Oh.
I'm quite excited now. I've seen the first two.
I haven't seen the first two, and I avidly follow failed tattoo websites.
Oh, wow.
This is Ben Affleck's tattoo. Now this might, I don't know if this fits in your repetitive tattoo catalogue of phoenixes. The fact it's Ben Affleck for me is very shocking. And a really interesting thing about this is when these pictures came out, he tried to say they were fake.
Oh, really?
So he's not very proud of his own tattoo. But...
Well, I saw a post by the guy who did it, and apparently they had quite like a long conversation about the concept and everything. So
he definitely had that tattoo.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
But I mean, what do we think of the tattoo?
It just looks a bit gaudy. Is that even a word? Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
I don't like it.
no, I don't.
So what are we doing, guys?
I'm keeping it.
Keep and cover the first conflict.
I thought I'd written Clover then, but I'm so glad I haven't. But, the reason I've gone with cover is because, like I say, you've either got to keep it, there's nothing you can do with it, or add to it, maybe.
How easy is
black
that
work,
to cover? It would be black work.
It's terrible to cover, yeah. I'm saying keep it because the laser would be
horrific.
Such a huge undertaking, and I think you'd still have to laser the black out of it to colour it with cover it with like another full colour.
This is Adam Levine's tattoo from Maroon 5. So overall, we're seeing a very nautical, traditional style, would you say?
Yes, that's a tread tattoo.
And there's just something going on with the face that I'd be pissed. And I wouldn't know because it's on the centre of my back. But that face looks haunting to me.
It's just not the best in terms of proportion, is it? The whole thing looks a bit stunted.
She's got no eyeballs.
Like the whole...
Or if she has, then she's crossing her eyes, or...
I think it's an unflattering photo. I do. I think that's good, solid.
I have tried to look for other angles.
But...
And that face is every time. That's the clearest. There's actually someone's done the stencil, and the face is like. So enough of what I think about it. What are we doing?
Keep it. Whoa. Keep it.
Keep and keep.
Keeping it. I mean, I like that sort of solid black work traditional style. You can maybe rework the face.
That is my only beef with it. Again, we have another celebrity. This is Ed Sheeran's back.
So he's having like...
So he's like pre-done, I think that's like barbed wire or just some sort of...
Are they barbed wire frame?
Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it?
Some sort of tribally solid...
The frames are not good.
That I'm guessing he's just saving for moments of his life.
Yeah, snapshots kind of thing of his life.
And it falls into that thing of like, be as creative as you want. You don't need to fit into patterns, but also, you know, there's conflicting views on this, and I want to know.
I love the whole overall kind of look because you get the impression that is his life on there. But in terms of if you're looking at...
It's that fun, like, scrapbook style, isn't it?
Yeah. But the frames are a bit odd.
I don't like anything about it.
That's all offensive to you.
I don't like anything about Ed Sheeran either. I might be, like, biased.
Yeah.
Full blackout.
Full blackout cover.
Keep it, Ed. Just keep it, man.
Full blackout.
Now this is interesting because this is actually a cover-up. Originally, it already involves something I'm not that into. But someone thought, this is fading. This is my treasured Blue Lives tattoo. I need to give my hog self a new revamp of my tattoo.
Is that what the skull is?
Well,
I thought that was like a Punisher skull.
Yeah, but it's the blue. With this blue, they've like adopted it to mean Blue Lives Matter. It's real nice. But this guy just wanted it retouching up. He knows it's fading. So I'm hoping the next picture is the... There we go.
Oh my.
So now we're looking at someone that already did their own cover.
No way. No actual way.
I'm personally very pleased.
That's gotta be
This hog got the treatment.
If we'd have had water in our mouth for that one, it would have literally been like...
Oh no.
But I see the line more now.
That's horrendous.
It definitely stands out.
See, I don't care how painful it would be to laser that off, I'd be like, it's got to come off.
What do you do if the cover turns out worse than the
I don't
original?
know how that happens. Like,
Can you sue?
everything was there. Like, it just needed the ears and the mane.
He was like, nah, hold my drink. His drink was his fourth of the day. I've had a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
And I feel like we've still not covered everything. Half
yeah.
the stuff that we want to get to. So if you would ever come back again, we'd love to have you.
Even after our chaotic madness of no prep and let's
Yeah,
just go with the flow.
Yeah,
Don't tell them that. We were fully professional and ready to
chaos
go.
from the start, though, wasn't it? It was like when I asked you what you both wanted, and I was like, "Don't be shy."
Yeah, go for it.
I'm like, "Can I just have these little ones?" And Lindsay was like, "I want a gavel, I want a bouquet, I want 10 TPs, I want like."
James has said though, hasn't he? Like, when the more I've been talking to him, he does give back, and you know, being on this podcast, it is about raising the positive male role models that we're showcasing. You know, you're covered in tattoos, like you're a cool guy, and yet you can talk about emotions and struggling, and you know, things that have happened in life that might cause you to wobble a little bit, and that before you refine it, and that's what we're trying to achieve.
It doesn't shake who you feel as a man just to talk about these things.
Yeah,
So.
and we are very grateful for that, because it is hard getting beyond
It doesn't make you any less of one. That's,
yeah.
that's
100%. And two
isn't it?
girls telling guys that doesn't always come off that well. Hearing it from a guy that's cool, that's successful, like... I mean, you talk about imposter syndrome when you're successful.
Yeah.
Then I can accept that I will always probably feel that, and it's just, what do I do with that?
Yeah,
I appreciate
definitely.
it. It's comforting.
Well, like Steph says, we'd definitely love to have you back and revisit our topics and talk a little bit more.
Be happy
I will
to.
find another silly game.
Thank you for having me.
So for now,
We also want to mention the tattoo studio
definitely.
have been amazing let us in, because they did let us go in on a day that you're not generally open.
Yeah.
So Real Art Tattoo.
Real Art Tattoo, yeah. I'm sure you put all the details
Yeah,
in
we'll get
It's
it
all
on.
along
description.
there. Shout out. You're in Syston. It's on the main road. It's pretty easy.
Yeah,
to
Melton
park
Road,
there.
Syston. We're there 5 days a week, Tuesday to Saturday.
And you're doing
I
your
can't
laser.
remember the number off the top of my head, but
We'll put it on there.
It's all in there.
You do laser in there as well.
we do
We've already
laser
got it.
removal and we cover all tattoo styles. Anything you could sort of dream up, we can do between
Fantastic.
us.
And if someone wants a tattoo from you, specifically, do they go through the shop?
Best to go through the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah. Using the details that'll be on screen, but yeah, look forward to seeing you.
Yeah, I will definitely be back for some proper work. And there was something else I wanted to say and I can't remember it, so
Add it on.
if I remember it, I'll add it onto the back end.
Well, thanks, guys. Take care.
Thank you guys for coming. Thank you, James. Thanks, Lindsay.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks to my cat for staying quiet in the next room.
Bye.
See you in 2 weeks, guys. Bye.
And here we are. We did forget something. The guest question. So every time we have a guest, we ask them a very special question. Like to put them on the spot and make them sweat. So your question is, if you could give some advice to your younger former self, and it doesn't have to be related to anything that we've spoken about, but it can be. What advice would you give to your younger self?
Invent Google.
Like, that probably will end right there.
Yeah, invent Google.
last week, didn't you? What you said.
Then use the money to travel.
Yeah, and then use the money to travel. That's the thing. Do these things earlier. It's like, why is it taking
And also,
now?
follow your dreams, be yourself unapologetically.
Yeah.
Don't let other people's opinions of what you want to do affect your decision making. I think that would be my main thing.
I think you've lived by that pretty well.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you very much. Out.
Why is it like this? Instead of hating should be love, we invite in. You don't agree, then you're the problem that we're fighting. Open up your mind, stand up, become righteous.